Hey guys, I just thought I'd do this mic uh, audio video for you guys because some of you have been coming into the channel and asking what my setup is. So I figured I'd do a video to just show you what my setup is. I'm not going to get into the technical details of any of this stuff. I've included some links for resources if you're interested in that, and they may be really helpful for you, especially because you're essentially going to be copying and pasting my setup, and you may need to tweak it a bit. But just to start out, you may just want to see if this works for you. Okay. What I'm using here is called VSTHost. You may be familiar with that acronym VST, especially if you're using the VST plugins as filters in OBS already. And that's essentially what these are. The difference is that VSTHost is exactly what it sounds like. It is a hosting software for VST plugins, which allows you to have an input, which is going to be your mic, and then to send that signal through the plugins and output the final manipulated audio signal to an output source. And in our case, we're going to be using a virtual audio cable. If you're not familiar with what a virtual audio cable is, it is like any sound source, except it's virtual. So rather than like you have your hardware sound sources, like your sound card, and then you have virtual audio cable, which is just a piece of software that mimics a sound source. So, and what you do with that is, rather than say for like, I'll show you Discord as an example, but you'd want to do this in OBS as well. Rather than choosing your mic as an input device, now you would choose the virtual audio cable, the one that you're using here as your mic, because it is essentially acting as a mic now. It's taking the signal from your mic. And you can do that in any program that allows you to choose your mic. And that's kind of the advantage of using VSTHost, one of the advantages. It's also quite a bit more robust, and there are far more plugins that you can use for it. I mean, pretty much any plugin, any VST you can get out there, which Tri-Leveler 2 is not something I think that you can get in OBS. But I mean, there's all kinds of them if you want to use more. But again, in OBS, it's the same thing. You would just choose that audio cable as your microphone, and then that is going to be your sound. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll download the software, and these are in the links also below the video. VSTHost is the first one you're gonna get. I assume everyone's using 64-bit. So this guy right here, I don't know, that one's probably about the same. I don't know I've always used this one. So that's, and then Reaper plugins, 64-bit, VB audio, download that, and then Tri-Leveler 2, you're going to scroll down till you see Tri-Leveler 2, and you want to use the VST PC version of that. Now these three here, the plugins, the audio, the VB audio cable, and the Tri-Leveler 2, those are things that actually, I don't think Tri-Leveler you install. I think you actually just also leave that in a folder. VSTHost runs from a folder as well. And I think honestly, the installer for Replug simply just extracts it to a file in your program file. So, but you're going to install these, and VSTHost you just extract to wherever you want it, and then when you open that folder, you're going to see the application icon for the exe for the program. You open it there, it just runs out of the folder. Okay, so that's the installation, and then I go away. And then just walk you through the setup here. Okay, first thing you're going to do is you're going to set plugin path. If you come here to plugins, you probably won't see any of your plugins just yet. So the way that you get them there is you set plugin path. And for me, These are my, don't worry about this. I actually did that. I should delete that. I don't know how though. Oops. Is it backspace? Oh, there you go. Okay. So those are what you're going to do. And the way that you do that, you're going to set your plugin path to your Reap. That's where the Reaper plugins should be after you install them. And your trial leveler 2, that's going to be wherever you put it. I am actually running mine out of the downloads folder. And the way that you do that is you just hit the ellipsis. All right. And you find the folder, hit OK. You just do both of those folders, and then you're done. And then the next thing you want to do is come over here and make sure you tick autosave plugin banks, because if you don't do that, the these plugins, the settings that you create for them, when you leave VSTHost, it'll all be reset. So since I'm sure you don't want that, make sure that's ticked. I have no idea why. I don't think it's ticked by default. I have no idea why, but I don't think so. Next thing you do, come to devices, wave. All right. And here's where you're going to set your input and your output, your sample rate, and your buffer size. Okay. The input is going to be, and you're only interested in MME devices here. You may have, you'll probably have DS. You might have ASCIO, but MME is what you're interested here, because that's what we're working with. And so you're going to choose your mic for your input, whatever your mic is. You're going to choose the VB audio cable that we installed as the input cable input as your output port. For sample rate, you just want to make sure it doesn't really, I don't know that anybody on the internet will be able to tell the difference between 44,100 and 192,000, to be honest with you. But you're free to choose whatever you like. I just use 44,000. Whatever you decide to choose, make sure you all of your mic, for example, make sure all of that stuff is the same bit rate. I'm sorry, sample rate. And the way that you do that is you go to properties, advanced, and there's your sample rate there. Okay. Make sure you do that also for the audio cable, both in recording and playback. Because while this program here uses the input as the output, you will be using the output as your device, because what it essentially does is runs this cable. That's why it's called a cable. It's essentially a cable going from the playback to the recording. I believe that's how it's working. So both of those, make sure you set the sample rate to match the sample rate that you have here. And the other thing is buffer size. For some reason, I can't use a small buffer size. And what happens when I try to use a smaller buffer size is I get lots of crackling and popping and stuff. So I have got it. This is the comfortable samples buffer size for me. The drawback, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, the higher you go, the higher your latency, meaning the more delay you have between your mic and, say, video or stream or whatever you have. So, but 1050 is not too bad. I don't notice too much of a delay. Ideally, you'd be able to use the lowest and you'd have almost no delay. But you know, if you may not be able to do that for whatever, there are lots of reasons why you might not be able to. So I highly suggest that whatever you start probably in the like 225, 250 area, and either work your way down or up, and just do little recordings of your voice. You know, make sure you say a few things, because sometimes the popping only happens every 10 or even 15 seconds. So if you make sure you do a long enough recording that you can get a good enough sample to judge whether it's okay. And if you're not getting popping, go lower. If you are, go higher until you get it right. And then that's that. And then what we'll do is we'll set up. I'm just going to give you my setup here. Okay. The first thing that I use in this chain here, just to actually take a moment to explain this whole chain, these little lines that you see here, that is the pipeline. I mean, think of that as like a wire going from each of these things, right? And the way that you set those is in here. I'm not gonna spend too much time. I can't really mess with this because it'll actually mess up the signal for this video. So I'm just gonna kind of show you that's this little chain link icon right here. When you click on that, that is how you choose the source for this particular module. And you string those together. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. But what you want is a line like this, one wire. You don't want to have like a, you don't want to have like a wire going from here to the output and then from here to the output, because what you're going to have is for every line that goes from the input to the output, you're going to have a signal. So if you have more than one of these lines going from, you're going to have 2 or 3 or 4, however many you have signals. So you don't want that. It'll just sound like there's 3 or 4 of you. So here's my setup. The first thing that I use are noise, in the order here matters. This is noise suppression here, and then I got an EQ, got compression, another EQ, instance of an EQ. There's 2 instances you probably noticed of the noise suppression there. The delay, that's not touched, so actually I'm not even using that. Tri-leveler, and then a de-esser. For the noise suppression, the way that you set that up, you just come in here, and I suppose that I could do this now. No. The way that it works is you build a noise profile, and as you can see, everything sort of below that noise profile gets dampened, sort of canceled out. So the way that you do this is you see my settings here. I'm actually going to make another one so that I can walk you through it, so I don't have to touch this one. But I'm quiet there for a second, and you can see what exactly is being canceled. Those are all sounds from my room, from my computer. And this works really great to make up for the fact that you're not in a studio with soundproof walls and stuff. And it does a really great job. The issue is, if you do it incorrectly, and I'm going to show you in a second how to do it, like if this is too high, you're going to notice like I probably sound super weird right now. It's not good if it's too high. You want it to be in the right spot. So we'll walk you through this. Maybe I'll go a little bit lower with that. Okay. So the way that you do it, File, Plugins, Refer. I'm unchaining that because if I keep it on there, then you're going to hear 2 signals. That little gauge there is how you open up the settings for it. The little gauge icon. And you want to go edit mode, precise, FFT size, 1024, mode, subtract. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click in this little box here. As soon as you do that, it's going to start building a noise profile, okay? And you really only have to do this for a few seconds, but make sure that your room is as close to quiet as you can get it. Like you don't want to have anybody in there, like get your cats who are fighting with each other out of your room. Like all that stuff. Don't be opening any. And also when you click on this, I highly recommend that you actually put like something like that dampens the sound from your mouse between your mouse and the mic, or maybe move the mic. I don't know how you would do that, but make sure, because what you're going to find, and you'll see this in a second, that's what I did. I stuck a pillow there, but what you're going to see is you'll see the mic in the noise profile for me. So I'm going to click, and then I'll click again. You can see the mic, the mouse click there, right? And so you don't really want that, because now that's interfering with these higher frequencies of my voice, and that's not good. So like I said, try to dampen the mouse click as much as possible. If you a pillow over your hand between your hand and the mic will probably work just fine. And then you want to drag this down because, again, if it's too high, it's probably not too high now, but a little lower for the first instance. You notice I have 2 instances of this, a little lower for the first instance, and then you could go even lower on the next one, and you're just kind of like little by little iterating your way through this. Then the more iterations you have, the cleaner it's going to be, and the less sort of funky sound you'll be getting out of it. So lower it to where, maybe it's just on or above that line that you see there when you're silent. And then it's going to be the same thing for the next instance. You're going to come back for your next instance, and you're going to do the same thing, except you're going to even draw this a little lower. Oh, the way that you do that is you control click and you drag down. I'm sorry. Hold control while you drag on that. And you don't have to mess with any other settings here, but then lower this next one a little bit more, and then you look at it. There's almost nothing leaking through there, So 2 is good for me. Some people do up to 3 or 4. So after you finish that, this is what you should just have: these 2 instances of reefer next to each other, and then the pipeline going to the out. And then the next thing you're going to do is the EQ. So you're going to come over here, plugins, replugs, re-EQ. And this is my EQ here. These are my EQ settings. And I'm just going to actually put those on the screen or something for you guys. Or, you know what? Actually, ta-da! Okay, so you can see the first band here. You see the settings for the first band here, and when you first open Reaper plugin, we first open the EQ, you're only gonna have 4, so you're gonna have to come down here and hit Add Band. All right, so you're gonna add set 3 more bands, 7 bands total, and you see the settings for the first. I'm sorry, yeah, that's the first band there, and then 2 through 7 is here. Okay. Now, after the EQ, you're going to look at, you're going to come over here again, plugins, recomp. And comp is compression, okay? And what compression does is it increases the dynamic range. Without going too far into it, it's compression increases the dynamic range of your audio. And so the way that works is it's actually it's a huge part of the sound that you hear here and on radios and stuff as well, because it normalizes the volume of the signal. So if I talk really loud, it shouldn't be as distorted as it usually would be, and the volume, more importantly, in your ear probably won't change. It won't be much louder for you, even though I'm talking much louder. And also when I'm talking quiet, it's not significantly quieter. So that's kind of what compression does. It's great. It's a great thing to have. Just copy my settings there. And you shouldn't. This should be good for everybody, honestly. I don't know. It depends on your mic, I suppose. I do another instance of EQ. It may not be necessary for you, but this is just 4 bands. And the reason that I do this after comp is to try to bring back some clarity. These are the higher frequencies here. This is outside of the range of my voice, but what this is within is certain aspects of sounds that my mouth will make, like consonant sounds. So this a little bit boosted, only minor, less than five or so, gives your words some more clarity. And there I go, going into the technical aspects of what I'm doing. But anyway, so pretty self-explanatory. You can kind of eyeball this, to be honest with you. They don't have to be exactly 2 and 6,000. But I'll just kind of click on each of these so you can see the settings. As I've said, redelay I don't use, or delay I don't use. Tri-leveler is interesting. Tri-leveler kind of evens out your voice's tone as you talk, and it's especially good for people like my wife and I both. You guys know Stephanie. We both do we do stuff together, so it's especially good for two people. And may not be as useful as for one, but you can try it out and see if you like it. Look at the difference. It can be kind of difficult to set up, but the first thing you do is just grab my settings here from config. That you just tick this config button right here, and grab those settings there. And then I suggest just using the same settings I have here as well, and listen to the sound that you get from it. I would do a recording and check how it sounds. If it sounds, I don't know how to describe it, like almost like oscillating. It almost can be really like if the settings are wrong, it doesn't sound good. It almost gives you a headache to listen to. I'll kind of demonstrate that here. I'm at 33 here, and or minus 33. That's what I kind of like. But if I turn it up a lot, and I think that's one of the things that happens if I turn this up way too much or something. I don't know if it's a difference up or down, but you'll start to hear maybe some funky stuff, and it doesn't sound the same. But 33 is my sweet spot. And then the other thing, okay, 11.85 here. If I mess with this too, you might notice some weird stuff going on too there. And one thing that you're going to notice is if you look at the 11.85. Am I crazy, or was it 85 before and now it's 0.75? What the actual hell? Okay, anyway, so the important thing though with this is that I'm told is that when you're speaking, you want to have it, all of these little bars here hanging out as you're speaking as close as possible to this middle point, the 0 point here. And if you're doing that, apparently, if that's what's happening, then it sounds good. So that's tri-leveler 2, or should sound good anyway. That's tri-leveler 2. Huh. I don't know. I really wish I hadn't messed with that now. But okay. So tri-leveler 2. Anyway. And then the final thing is going to be re-xcomp, which is simply a de-esser. And there are 3 bands here as well. A de-esser, if you're wondering what that is, it reduces the intensity of some of these higher frequency sounds that come from your mouth, specifically S sounds and maybe some F sounds as well. So yeah, 3 bands here. Just copy and paste. 1, 2, 3. And then when you're done with that, you're going to want to just come over here to performance. A lot of programs, they save their files as projects or, whatever. In VSTHost, it's called performance. Click on performance, save as whatever you want to name it. Okay. You can save tons of them. Obviously, I don't know why they have all these. I don't know why they'd have predefined slots for that, but podcast is what I have mine saved as, even though I've never done a podcast in my life. And then you save that. And then when you open, it should go to this first slot when you open VSTHost anyway. But, if you have more than one performance, you can save them as different things, kind of experiment. But then, this is how you choose your saved performances, and that's it. When you log into Windows, or you open Windows or whatever, you just open that folder, the VSTHost folder, and you're just gonna click on the file like I showed you before, and I have my setting to just have it minimized to tray, to down here, as soon as I open this. But you click on this, open this, and then you're running. And you should, as long as you set your mic for the programs you want to use it in, it'll then be sending that signal to those programs. And that is it. It's pretty easy. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you are not in my Discord and you don't go to my stream or whatever, just leave a comment in the comment section. I don't know how you'd be here otherwise, but maybe someone sent you here. And feel free to ask me if you have a question in the comment section. I will try to get back to you. So yeah, hope that works out for you guys. Take it easy.